Chapter 6, Quadratic Equations and Functions. Solving quadratic equations using the square root method 6.2. Just a note for review, when we take the square root of 25, we know that under the radical symbol it's 5 times 5, both positive. In this chapter 6, we are going to also discuss how negative 5 times negative 5 will also give us the positive 25. So if we're taking the square root of 25, the answer can actually be 5, and the answer can actually be negative 5. And we're going to show this by putting a positive and negative in front of the 5 to show that it could be positive, it could be negative. Both x can be 5 and x can be negative 5. They're both answers. So let's go on and work some problems. All right, we have x squared equals 64. Remember, quadratic equation is anything raised to the highest power of 2. So this is a quadratic equation. All right, now we talk about raising the x to a power of 2, meaning it's squared. In order to get x alone, we do the opposite action. The opposite action of a square is taking the square root. So we're going to take the square root of x squared, and you have to do the same exact thing to the other side of the equal sign. So when we talk about this, we'll go over the rules in a second. We're going to do it here on the right first. We take the square root to get the x alone, and we have to take the square root on the right. So we take the square root of 64, but the minute you do that, I want you to write positive, negative right in front of it. So you'll remember that it could be a positive 8 or a negative 8, the square root of 64. All right? So again, the minute you do the square root on the right, write positive, negative. Now, x can be positive 8, and x can be negative 8. Either one. And you can show it separately, or you can show it all together as one. So these are the rules and procedures we're going to follow. You're going to take the square root of both sides of the equal symbol, which we did. And the minute you take the square root over here on the right, you're going to write positive, negative. Add positive, negative in front of the radical symbol on the right. Then you're going to split the equation and split into two equations. Split to show that it could be one and the other. And then you're going to solve for the variable we have here already. The power is 2, so that means there are 2 possible answers. So let's go on and do more examples. Oh, before we go on, remember that the solutions, or the x values that you see here, are actually the intercepts, if you remember that. 8, 0, and negative 8, 0. Going on, square root method. X plus 1 is being raised to the second power. We want to get this alone. So therefore, we're going to take the square root and the square root on the right. So we take the square root of x plus 1 squared, and over on the right, we take the square root of 25 plus minus, plus negative, right there, right away. So this is same index, second power. X plus 1 comes out. Square root of 25 is 5. Now we're going to go solve for the x. We're going to subtract 1 from both sides. But wait a minute. If I subtract 1 here, what am I subtracting from the positive, the negative? Well, that's when you go ahead, before you bring the 1 over, and you show and split into 2 equations to solve it. Meaning, you're going to have x plus 1 equals positive 5. And you're going to have x plus 1 equals a negative 5. And then you're going to solve them. And here you're going to subtract 1, and you're going to get 4. And here you subtract the 1, and you're going to get x is negative 6. So 2 answers, x is 4, x is negative 6. Let's go on to another one. They're all the same. Every one is the same. Same procedure. X plus 2 is being raised to the second power. And remember, it's not just the 2. This power is touching and next to the parentheses, meaning it's raising the whole thing. So you have to put the square root symbol across the whole thing. And once you do that on the left, you have to do it on the right-hand side of the equal, and you're going to do square root plus minus. So we just square root here. We take the square root of 16 plus minus. Always right, square root plus minus. Plus negative, really. Okay, so it should be positive negative. So we go over here with same index, same power. We have x plus 2 equals positive negative square root of 16 is 4. Now we have to separate them out so we can solve each one. And we're going to have x plus 2 equals positive 4. And we're going to have x plus 2 equals negative 4. And we're going to solve each one. This is x here will equal 2, and x here will equal negative 6. So, just to review, you take the square root of both sides, square root, positive, negative, and then split them out and solve. Try another one. Same routine, same procedure. Here we go. Take the square root of both sides, square root of here, square root of 7, positive, negative. This is x minus 4 comes out, positive, negative, square root of 7. And again, we can't just subtract the negative 4. We have to actually go ahead, split it, and solve it. So x minus 4 plus square root of 7, x minus 4 minus square root of 7. Let's do this one first. Add 4 to both sides. X equals 4 plus the square root of 7. And x here, we're going to add the 4. X is 4 minus the square root of 7. Now notice we always put the radical symbol at the back end. We could have written this as the square root of 7 plus 4, but that's not the norm that we use. We use here always that the square root is at the back end. Just like when we used to do the imaginary numbers. You had a plus bi. I, which is really the square root of negative 1, at the back end. Okay, now another way of writing this is simplifying and putting them sort of both together. You have positive 4 plus minus right here and the same square root of 7. So you may see it written one of two ways, this way, or you may see them written separately. Going on to the next example. Same procedure, same thing. It's raised to the second power, the square. We're going to take the square root of 4x plus 7 squared. The minute you take that square root of the 3, you write plus minus, plus negative, positive negative. Okay, so here we go. Same index, same power, 4x plus 7 equals positive negative square root of 3. Break it out into two equations. 4x plus 7 equals a positive 3, and 4x plus 7 equals negative 3. This doesn't change. It's here that changes. Positive, negative. Solve, add 7, subtract 7. 4x equals negative 7 plus square root of 3. Divide by 4 to get the x alone. Same over here. You can't pick and choose, folks. You got to decide a divide by 4 every single thing. So these two cancel. And we got x equals negative 7 plus the square root of 3 over 4. And going on the other side, we subtract 7. 4x equals negative 7 minus 3, square root of 3. Divide by the 4, everything. These cancel. X equals negative 7 minus the square root of 3 over 4. Now, the other way of showing them instead of just 2 separately. Both have the negative 7 and the 4. The only difference is one's positive here, one's negative here. So you can write it as negative 7 plus or minus square root of 3 over 4.